Joe Rogan going through it with Spotify. Joe Rogan going through it with the powers that be about, come on, about the content of his content, the content of his content, the content of the podcast that he puts out. That's what this is all about. So the latest controversy is a compilation of N-words that Joe Rogan, having a podcast for 12 years, a compilation of N-words from certain videos or certain podcasts that he's done, where he's used the word. Not the N-word, he used the word, the actual word. They probably won't let me monetize this, but I don't want them to stop the show, so you know what word I'm talking about. Okay? So it's about a minute and a half long, I guess, and it's him throughout the video. Someone did a mashup of just Joe Rogan using the N-word with guests and talking about it. And some of the guests that he was saying it in front of were pushing back on him from using it. So that gets a little, kind of weird because even the people at the time were telling him, hey, Joe, why are you doing that? And some of those people were in this camp, like people that that were on his podcast on a regular basis. I know one of the guys is like a UFC guy, Bravo, I think his name is, from back in the day. He was like, nah, man, you don't use that word, and Joe uses it anyway. So anyway, this became a controversy, and we all know why, right? It became a controversy because they don't like Joe Rogan because Joe Rogan's too powerful. That's really what it's all about. Joe Rogan is a loose cannon, and he's out, putting out content with people talking about things like the jab, and it's not following the script. And there's a script you're supposed to use at this point, okay? And that's really what has fueled the fire. So people were putting out content just less than 48 hours ago saying Joe Rogan's untouchable. There's nothing they could do to him. The guy made all this money with Spotify. Spotify ain't going to cut him. We saw Neil Young come out and say, look, if Spotify wants to keep my content on their platform, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to pull Joe Rogan. Instead, they decided to obey Neil Young's wishes and pull his content. So that was the spin. And then a number of other artists came out and said they want their content pulled from Spotify because they don't agree with Joe Rogan's content being on the platform. So, wow. Now, this clip of the N-word, this is a big deal because, well, it's going to be used to great effect because it touches on race. And anything that touches on race, it lights up like a powder keg. Come on, that's what it does. This is America. And we got this guy using the N-word. And yes, it was years ago, but you know what happens. They use it to burn you down. That's what they do. So, Joe Rogan, he came out again. Now, he had just dropped a video 2 days ago responding to Neil Young and Spotify and the drama about some of his content. And he made some concessions like, look, we're going to put disclaimers in front of the videos that mention the jab stuff, and we're going to do some other things. And maybe when I bring on a guest that has a different or a non-mainstream take on an important issue, I'll bring on somebody else who has more of a mainstream take, and I'll bring them on right away. So the bookends, so people can decipher both points of view. And that was new for him because I don't remember him coming out in the past and addressing heat from corporate media, but he felt necessary to do it, not just once, but again. So I didn't see this until today. Joe Rogan puts out a video. And in this video, he talks about how he effed up. Right? He said he effed up. He said, man, this is horrible. He apologizes about the N-word compilation. He apologizes for his use of the N-word. He apologized over and over. He says it was dumb. He should have never done it. It was in the context of this, in the context of that. And then he started bringing up like reasons why, like, we were like surprised, like we're thinking about like, wow, being black, you get to use this word, and wow, what does that mean? And you can use it in a movie, but you can't use it in real life, and it's in music, but you can't say it to your friend, and It could mean hello, and it could be get out of my face, and it could be let's fight, but it could also mean love. And it's like, wow, this word, we're just so fascinated with this word, this N-word. It's just an amazing word, and it's just, all right. And then in the end, Joe Rogan's like, look, I should not have used the word. I apologize for using the word. I'm not going to use the word anymore. It's been years since I used the word. I was wrong to use the word. I'm embarrassed. This is horrible. Why did I do this? This is wrong, wrong, wrong. Please, I'm sorry. My sincerest apologies. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. I'm telling you all of this because I'm not putting any of that in this video. None of that will be included in this video because that's not what's important. In fact, none of this is important. None of this is really important. You know why it's not important? Because it's so obvious. It's the reason why this video has resurfaced. First of all, some of you may not know, but most of us already knew that Joe Rogan had used the N-word before. This is not a new diss on him. Now, I had never seen a compilation, but I knew he'd done it before because it's come up before. Every year or so, during Joe Rogan's growth, someone will put out a video exposing that he used the N-word 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, 7 years ago, whatever it was. And every time it was done to try to stop him. We're talking about a guy that gets 10 million views on a podcast. And he's not controlled. And they can say what they want to say. That person becomes very dangerous, Johnson. So this is not about the N-word. This is about, in fact, if anything, they're using black people. They're using our reaction to this to gaslight us into getting involved or causing a boycott or going after Joe Rogan. I intentionally have not watched a single video from cable media covering this topic. Because I don't care what they have to say. I know the truth. And the truth is, this is all BS. Look, it's not BS that the N-word, it's BS about this with Joe Rogan because the N-word, this made-up controversy, it's just camouflage to go after him. And I don't want to be a party to that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in being a part of that. You want to go after the guy, go after the guy. Don't use black people to do it, though. Don't use our pain to do it. Don't use our degradation to do it. Don't use our discrimination to do it. You want to go after him, go after him. Pay him off like you do everyone else. Offer him a job like you do everyone else. Buy him off like you do everyone else. But you won't use us to do it. You won't use me to do it. That's all I have control over is me. I'm sorry if you came to this video expecting something different. And I'm ashamed of those who pretend to know me, but then thought I was going to do some weird cable media take on this. But what I will do is use this opportunity to do what Joe Rogan said, which is a learning moment. A learning moment for us all. Listen, should Joe Rogan have ever used the N-word? Hell no, he shouldn't use the N-word. No, absolutely not. You don't get a pass. Period. But he clearly acknowledges in his video that he should not have used it. Okay? So he repeatedly says, I shouldn't have used it. There's nothing he can do to change what he's done in the past. All he can do is going forward, not do it. Joe Rogan shouldn't use the N-word. And some would argue no one should use the N-word. I occasionally use the N-word. And sometimes even when I do it because I know I'm a mixed company, I wonder, should I be doing this? So I really limit my use of it. You know, in content. I won't say black people should use it, but I'll say it's a choice. And it's a choice we should make or take very seriously. We should weigh it. Does it need to be used? Why am I using it? That's a personal decision. I'm going to get into that. Okay? But I do believe that a theatrical use of it, a performance-based use of the word, is different than just someone just using it in conversation. Quentin Tarantino comes to mind. Okay, so I look at that different. That's just me. That's me. As far as white folks, though, generally speaking, they shouldn't use the word. It's not your word to use. Some things are off limits. Since I own a media company and have reported on racial issues and politics for 10 years, and I've never really addressed this, why not? I'm a black guy with a footprint on the internet. Why not be able to weigh in? I'm weighing in. I want to say that I believe that what's happened with Joe Rogan is a hit piece. It's meant to take him down. I think they're coming after him with pickle juice and razor blades. Too powerful. He got to be stopped. I'm not coming after him. That's not the purpose of this video. He apologized. He admits it was stupid. He says he won't do it again. If he does it tomorrow, that would be a different story. No one can change what they did in the past. I know. I've tried. It can't be done. As to why black people use the word and not white people, I think Ta-Nehisi Coates has the best summary of why you should not use the N-word and why white people specifically should not use the N-word. And why it is that black people use it. It's not a justification. It's an explanation. Okay, so there's a video on YouTube. You can find it. Ta-Nehisi Coates is doing a book tour for his book, We Were in Power 8 Years, or 8 Years We Were in Power. A young white woman in the audience asked a question. She says, I need your help, Ta-Nehisi Coates. I don't use the N-word, but sometimes my friends do. And I don't know how to tell them not to use it. I can't explain to them why it's wrong. They hear it in all their music, and they want to use it, but they don't know why they shouldn't use it. What should I tell them? How do I make them understand it's okay for black people to use it, but it's not okay for us to use it? It's Ta-Nehisi Coates' response to this was classic. Okay, let me make this clear. I don't want to butcher his words. But this is the gist of it, okay? He said something like this. He said, his wife refers to him as honey. And that's because of the relationship that they have together. She calls him honey, maybe he calls her honey as well. That's a pet name thing they have. They have a certain type of bond and relationship. Now, if they go out in the street, they're walking down the street together, and some random woman walks up and calls him honey, she's out of pocket. That's real. That's very weird. That's unacceptable. First of all, you don't have that relationship with him. Only his wife does. There's no covenant. There's no bond. His name is Mr. Coates to you. He also added another example. He said, his father. When he was a young kid, he went with his father back to their hometown or whatever to visit family. And he was around his uncles and his aunts and his grandparents. And there, they referred to his father as Billy. Now, they called him Billy because when he was growing up, that was the nickname they called him in the house. His father's name is William. Mr. Coates referred to his father as Dad. Now, they called him Billy because that's their relationship. That's how they grew up. People outside his house don't call him Billy. They call him William or Mr. Coates or some other derivative. But the relationship is such that they're comfortable using the word Billy amongst the internal family. And Mr. Coates went on to make another example, just so this woman understood. It's about relationships. It's about bonds. It's about familiarity, comfort level. He talked about his wife and her girlfriends and how sometimes when they have company and they're together and they're talking, his wife and her girlfriends may call each other the B word. And he said, I never feel like I should join them. That's their conversation. That's their relationship. I don't feel the need to jump in and start calling them bees. It would also probably be dangerous. Get what I'm saying? Anyway, you get the picture, I'm sure. Coates wipes it all up, wraps it all up. Saying the real question is, why do white people feel the desire to use the word? Why do you want to use it? Why is it so important to you? He believes it's from a sense of entitlement. White people have this entitlement in America. This is their country. They can do what they want. They can go where they want, say what they want. Everything is theirs. They gave us the word. They can't use the word they gave us? Why can't I use it? Entitlement. No, you can't use it. You can't use it. No, you don't get to use it. Now look, Joe Rogan may regret using the word. In fact, he said, I regret using the word. He said those exact words. He didn't try to justify using it. Well, he did kinda. He did kinda, because he kept giving explanations of why he did it. But now he wouldn't do it. I don't know if the reason is because he's rich, or a lot richer than he was before. I would like to hope it was because he's become enlightened. He doesn't need to use these lame-ass, tired-ass stereotypes or whatever nonsense to get laughs or whatever that was. But see, here's the thing. I would like any white person who wants to use the word to kind of examine themselves and find out why they want to use that word. Why is that word important to you? What is it about the word? Is it just because you can't use it? Also examine how it makes you feel to realize you can't use it. Does that sting a little, that burn a little? You don't have the freedom to do everything you want to do. And it kind of, I don't know, it causes an inadequate feeling, a weird feeling. Now, I know in America, we talk about code switching. We talk about walking in other people's shoes, putting yourself in other people's situation, microaggressions and all other types of things. But I want you to know, as a white person in America, when you hear the N-word on a song, when you're around black friends who use the N-word and you don't get to use it, that's the closest you'll ever be to feeling black in America. Because see, to be black, as Coates says, is to walk through a world and be confronted with all this shit you can't do. And that's what being black really is, not being able to do shit. But unfortunately for us, it's stuff like get a job, get paid the same as white guys or white women, not be harassed by cops, being able to walk, sleep, drive while black, not have to fear death. Not that it's going to happen to every black person, but just the knowledge it could. And no one would be that surprised. I'm never surprised. I wasn't surprised when I heard about Amir Locke being shot on the couch, under covers, as he awoke to 5 guys with guns pointed at him. I wasn't surprised that he got shot. That's how often that happens. I wasn't surprised when George Floyd got killed by cops, when he got strangled out, choked out. I was surprised they caught it on tape. I was surprised that we actually got justice. That's what I was surprised of. So to be black in America is to have a lot of shit you can't do. And that's good for you to realize what that is. To see for yourself, experience it. And know it don't feel so good. And maybe then we could kind of like see eye to eye a little bit. We can understand a little bit, just a little bit. Because without having the actual experience of being denied something, you can't relate at all. I would rather not experience so much of what we can't have. Like longer life expectancy. Like more wealth. Like ownership. The ability to go out to Joe Rogan if we want to on our own platforms for valid reasons, not reasons sanctioned by political parties for political purposes of mainstream media. I wouldn't go out to Joe Rogan on this for a lot of reasons. One of them is, hell, this video of Joe Biden using the same word on the Senate floor, in the Senate chamber. And nobody went after him. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I condone it. I'm not saying how many times it was. Who knows? But for either one of these guys, I don't think it was just one time they used the N-word. All right. The N-word has been used to dehumanize black people. For a lot of murdered black Americans who were lynched, it's probably the last word they heard on earth. N-word. That's why you can't use it, Johnson. It's not for you to use. It's part of our struggle. It's part of our culture. It is what it is. And you ain't got to understand why you can't, really. You just have to respect that you can't use it. So this ain't about Joe Rogan, man. This is about them manipulating black people. It is such a joy for them to use black people like a tool to get what they want. But if I say I want reparations or I want a black agenda or I want policies that actually specifically impact black people in a positive way, they ignore us. They don't got conversation for that. But they'll use black pain and suffering in order to get what they want. But they won't let us use our black pain and suffering to get what we want. And what we want is not to fry Joe Rogan, it's to get reparations or a black agenda and something done for our communities. Joe Rogan can't give us that. But the U.S. government can. And corporate media can sure help, but they won't. But what they will do is one of these stupid-ass clips of Joe Rogan saying some shit 10 years ago. All because he won't shut the fuck up now. Oops. And do as they tell him. So look, I'm not going to get into the whole jab thing and if he should put certain content up. This ain't got nothing to do with us or me or you. This has to do with them controlling the airways. And this guy to mess around and got a lot of power. Got a lot of ears, a lot of people listening. Man, I tell you, I wish I had that power, man. Oh, if I had that power, the things I would say all types of things to help black people. I would bring on all types of people to make some real change possible. But I damn sure wouldn't be using that platform to say the N-word. At least not for laughs. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. Hey. This ain't about Joe, this is about us. That's really all I got. I think to overly focus on this will make you an N-word, actually. That's not what I'm doing. But addressing it is fine. And I think more people need to allow black people to address this issue. Using us as tokens in order to go after a guy just ain't cool. And that's what they're doing. So really think about it, folks. And those people that will respond to it, just know, do you really give a shit that Joe Rogan said this shit 10 years ago on his podcast? Or are you being used as a tool by the establishment to pretend to give a shit because they want you to? I don't know. You got to think about these things. You got to unravel it. Make sure that how you feel is how you really feel, and not the way they want you to feel. I got a feeling that most people probably got other shit going on and ain't tripping off of it. So anyway, the Joe Rogan and those Joe Rogan fans and Joe Rogan supporters and the Joe Rogan haters, do as you do, man. Meanwhile, I'm just over here doing my thing. Hopefully, we get to a point where this word don't mean anything because everybody have equity. Black people have the wrong, all things that have been wronged to black people will have been made right by U.S. government, and Joe Biden and the Democrats will do right by us. And yeah, there'll be no longer a use for that word because we will have gotten rid of all the, like Richard Pryor said, we will have gotten rid of them. There would be no more. Yo, what's up, fam? It's your man, Tim Black. Welcome to the No Culture Vulture, No Vultures in Our Culture channel. Yo, subscribe right here if you haven't done that already. I don't know why you wouldn't subscribe. This is Keeping It 100. Also, watch a video, another one. Let's jam up this algorithm. Let's go.